All right, welcome everyone to Real Raw Health with your host Nikki Burnett of Taste Life Nutrition and Matt Rowe of Parsley Pet. During our show, we are talking about your pet's health, raw feeding, and the health our pets bring to us with love. And Nikki and I talk a little bit about human health too, because we just can't get away from that. So welcome Nikki to this week's show.
All right, thank you. I feel like we're kind of on a theme. A lot of skin stuff that we've been talking about, but it's something that, it's important because who doesn't deal with skin stuff with their dogs? If you don't, you're very blessed and fortunate. But there's so many people who deal with hot spots and nobody can figure out, why does my dog have hot spots? And so, that's what we want to talk about. I think it's a good conversation.
I think it's a great conversation, especially as we're looking at more and more, and this is stuff that I have conversations with Dr. Judy about in my other show, is that when you look at the amount of toxins our dogs eat with kibble, I'm gonna take a big deep breath there. Stop feeding your dog.
Yeah.
So when we look at the toxins that our dogs eat, and then you look at glyphosate or Roundup that is in lawns, and your dog's rolling around in the lawn, so it's usually not just one singular item that's going to cause that hot spot. It's a conglomeration of multiple things. Like, for example, my lab, when I saw her, she'd sit on the ground so much and she was constantly resting on her paws, or I'm sorry, on her legs, she would develop a hot spot where she was laying at. And so, but it would perpetuate and it would last for months. And we could never get around or over that was now a perpetual hotspot. And I wished I would have known at the time that it was because of the toxins that I was putting in.
That's the hard part. And, it's also the thing that I think that is important to make really clear with anybody who listens to this is, we are pretty intent, pretty aggressive with the we don't feed kibble and why not to, and the things that we think should be done and things that should not be done. But I think it's that we all need to understand that we've all been in that place where we didn't know. And that's how we learn. And it's unfortunate because, it's learning a lot of times on the heels of those we love. My boys, I learned, I lost them. And I learned a lot with them, and I learned that I made a lot of mistakes, and that's, it's part of life. And sometimes it can be a little hard to take, but I think that we have to understand that it's a growing experience. And so, you didn't know, and now you do. And so now you can protect your kiddos now, your dogs now. And that's why we are doing this, because we learned, and if we can prevent this, any of these, conditions or dying or whatever it is that we can help with, if we can just, make those little tiny steps and get the message out there. That's all we're trying to do, because we learned, and now we just want to keep learning and keep teaching.
So let's get back to hotspots a little bit. And I love what you just said, is because there's a really big reason of why we do what we do. If we can create more education and awareness early on, like you said, it just helps. So going back to hotspots, what do you think are the contributing factors to a hotspot?
Well, so I think let's take a step back and let's talk about what hotspot is.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. So, probably most people know, but just in case, there are those oozing, gooey spots that develop. It can be in a just one little spot. It could be multiple spots. It can be over the entire body, and it's an inflammatory process. And what it is, it's an infection of the natural bacteria that's already on the skin. It's not an infection. It's an overgrowth of the natural bacteria that's already on the skin. So it is an infection. And usually it's because the dog is yeasty, has dirty coat. It's an unhealthy dog, all of these things. But what's the underlying cause of that? It's a deficient immune system, essentially. So if the dog's immune system is not functioning properly, then it allows the natural bacteria, which we would call opportunistic bacteria, to grow out of control. And so that's really what we're looking at, is it's a true infection. And it can be really uncomfortable, and it can create all kinds of issues. And so what we want to try to avoid, at least for the most part, is the steroids and the drugs, because those things aren't addressing the underlying condition. which is going to be the immune system. So if we have an immune system that's not functioning properly, then why? If you've seen this show at all, you're going to know it's because the microbiome's out of whack. They might have food sensitivities to the food you're feeding. And it's not going to, the answer is not changing your kibble, because kibble is kibble is kibble. Now, there could be some foods that aren't as, that doesn't affect your dog as much. But the fact is that a lot of times dogs get hot spots due to high carbohydrate diets.
Yep.
That's all kibble is high carbohydrates. Dogs don't do carbohydrates well. They do a little bit of vegetable, and that's about it. Vegetable is a carbohydrate. So if we're feeding kibble, we have an immune system that's probably very likely not functioning properly. We have a microbiome that's not functioning properly, and we have nutrient depletion. So we have all of these issues that are typically going to be based on food. There can also be environmental factors. It can be, allergies to grass. But if we have allergies to grass and ragweed and mold, it could be because they're nutrient deficient and they're not getting fed the food that they need to be fed to allow their body to react and not overreact to these insults, right? These allergies are insults. Did I answer your question in a really long way?
No, you answered it actually really, really well. And I love how you approach the immune system, because if you're looking at a bacterial overgrowth, good bacteria eats bad bacteria. And so
it keeps it under control, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely keeps it under control, keeps it at bay in there. So if we are not promoting the good microbiota in the stomachs of our dogs and really promoting a good, healthy immune system that's going to go out to the external layer on the skin, then all of a sudden that bacterial overgrowth is like, well, that's the good stuff's not there. So you know what? I'm here, I'm growing, because that's its mission. It's to duplicate as fast as it can. So really on that, so we're saying that at some point there, a weakened immune system keeps the dog from keeping the hotspot or the bacteria that's creating that hotspot at bay. So by promoting a healthier diet and promoting I would say like an immune system or a good gut microbiota, good prebiotics and probiotics, that is really what starts leading us to starting to, if they have a hot spot, to correcting that hot spot or subsiding the itching or whatever it is that's causing it, or keeping it from ever even starting.
Right.
That be fair in making that statement?
Yeah, absolutely. I heard almost everything. I tell you, I got a little concerned. I was hearing my dogs freaking out in the background. And a couple of them have gotten into a little bit of fight. And so I'm listening to you and listening to make sure that there's no fighting going on. And I think there was just another dog somewhere. So my apologies, but yes, all of that. I think the biggest thing to remember is we have bacteria all over us. So yes, the gut microbiome is very important, but we also have bacteria on our skin, in our mouths, our nose, are all everywhere, right? We have this bacteria.
It outnumbers our cells 100 to 1.
Right. And so we're just bug carriers. It's all we are.
We're walking bacteria.
Yeah. That's it. And so, that goes back to, we say this a lot, but with human and with animal health, it's our mental and our emotional health. It's, if you have an aggressive dog, why do you have an aggressive dog? Could it be because they're unhealthy and their microbiome's unhealthy? If they have hot spots, if they stink, all of these things that we talk about, so much of it, if not all of it, almost all of it, goes back to what we're feeding them, their environment, their water, the toxins around them, all of these things. So
I think you're making a really good point. When I'm sick, in pain, any one of those, like any one of those criteria is within there, I become a grumpy bugger. Like, you don't want to be around me. Like, I'm short tempered. I'm like, leave me alone. I know I need to get through this. But think of your dog. Your dog has no idea why this happened. Why am I feeling this way? Why do I hurt? Why is my stomach upset? And at that point, when they maybe show signs of aggression and we think, oh, it's just an angry dog. Is it? Or is it
Right.
that they're under pain, or do they have
Mhm.
something bigger going on, and not getting back down to that root cause and really taking a look at, do they have hot spots that are showing up on side? And a hotspot is just an indicator of potentially a poor gut microbiome of helping them. So it's not the salves and the creams, or that's just my dog, that's what they get. No, no, no. There's stuff
Mhm.
that we can do to prevent it. Now, once it starts, there's some creams you can put on it that would help, like a CBD cream or something like that. Have you seen anything else that helps a hotspot?
Yeah, yeah. Povidone iodine is one of the top things to use. So iodine, there's, aloe vera. There's something else that I was thinking of. The things that we want to be really careful of are the things that are really astringent because it is an open wound. So things like,
Okay.
Peroxide or
Mhm.
tea tree oil, things like that can be really painful when that's not what we want. So,
Mhm.
what we want to do is we want to, clean it. We have to clip the hair. Don't try to not clip the hair. We have to clip the hair because that can create more of a problem by leaving the hair there. But clip the
Mhm.
hair, clean the wound with the iodine. You got to let it dry. So clean and dry, clean and dry, clean and dry. And then you can put something, on there that maybe is like a CBD salve,
Mhm.
things like that that can be soothing. But it's a process to watch it, to allow it to heal, and then really start digging into, why is this happening. There's another thing that I want to mention that, as we're talking about things like, behavioral issues, dogs can be in pain, and they're licking that spot. So they have
Mm.
sciatica, or they have a pain in a joint or something like that, and so they lick and lick and lick,
Mhm.
and it's creating a hot spot. And so that's something else that we want to keep in mind if it happens to be over joint, or if it happens to be somewhere on the dog. Maybe if you're feeding the dog a really great, really great food, and you're doing all of the right things, and there's still a hot spot, maybe there's pain there somewhere. So, and there are behavioral disorders, OCD issues that dogs can have also if they're bored,
Mhm.
and have separation anxiety and things like that, that can also make them lick, creating a hot spot. So,
Mhm.
it doesn't always come back to the food, but it could come back to the food, creating the behavioral disorder, creating the hot spot, right? So we want to make sure that we're doing our best to look at all aspects of what potentially could be going on, and really paying attention, because that's the hard part, is they can't talk to us. And so
Right.
we have to be aware enough of our dog, of behavioral issues, at least to an extent. We're not expected to be behavioralists. I know you and I are not behavioralists,
No.
but trying to pay attention to why certain things are happening, and then start, sort of your elimination. In my world, it'd be an elimination diet, but it's an elimination of factors that could be creating a problem.
Yeah. And that's where, if we look at a hotspot or something like that as it pops up as just an indicator,
Mm-hmm.
this is
Yeah,
somewhere to pay
it's a
attention
symptom.
to. It's
Mm-hmm.
not something that, oh, my dog has it. It's really just really an indicator of
Right.
going, okay, what else is going on? And the tough part is when we see our veterinarians that are wonderful, is they want to give a drug. They want to treat the symptom, the itching, the burning, the all that stuff. But not often do they go back to the root cause of where all this might have started. And I think at even the medication, if they start feeding a medication for a hotspot, this only goes to weaken the immune system even more.
Right.
That's why you'll see a lot of drugs that come through, it treats it temporarily, but it doesn't ever solve it. So the dog perpetually has hot spots throughout their
Mhm.
entire life. This is the experience I had with my dog, Doc.
Mhm.
And this is what she did. She had hot spots, and I didn't know well enough. I was like, well, that's just a lab.
Yeah, and that's the hard part is, yeah, it's hard just going, well, that's how they're gonna live, and I sit here and go, oh, it just hurts my heart to imagine just itching and being uncomfortable and having this pain all the time. But still, if we
Right.
don't know what to do, like, I don't know, what do I do?
Mhm. Yeah.
So, yeah, let's just do a little digging, and again eliminate those factors that could be causing the problems. It could be, I think I said this already, if If I didn't, I'm going to say it again. Or if I did, I'm going to say it again. But, think about your water. Think about what's in your water. Use good filtered water. I'm going to do
Yep.
this because it's my favorite company. This is the company I use. I don't get anything from them. Can you see it? There you
There we
go.
go.
Healthy Exposure.
Yep.
They are really, really good. I met them at a epigenetic conference I went to. So if it tells you anything, they were invited. They're that good. They were invited to this conference. But they have great, fairly inexpensive options from your whole house to, on the counter filters and all kinds of stuff. And they get rid of all of the junk, fluoride and the chlorine and the parasites and all the things that can still be in water. So, and those are the things we want to think about. We want to think about fluoride. Fluoride sits in the bones, has the high potential of creating osteosarcoma. I'm getting a little off topic, but I need to, it's important. We talk about food a lot. Food is very important. Water is very important. Air is very important. The environment, you're talking about glyphosate that's either in their food or on the ground that they're rolling in or they're ingesting, these things are incredibly toxic and they're everywhere. So, doing your best for your dog also means you're doing your best for yourself, and vice versa. Doing the best for yourself means you're doing your best for your dog. So, there are lots of things that can create these things, but, just kind of sit and watch and do a little digging and you'll probably figure out where it's coming from pretty quickly.
Well, and if you think about food, whether if it's kibble, it's going to be mixed with grains, and those grains are sprayed with glyphosate on top of it. And glyphosate, when it originally came out in the 50s, was actually an antibacterial agent that they used. And so an antibiotic was how it was originally produced. What they realize is it kills weeds too. So they're like, oh, we can make more money by just spraying it on weeds. And you know what? And it's human safe. What we didn't realize is every time we eat it, we're just killing our immune system more. We're killing that good bacteria that's in our body. Well, if our good bacteria never populates or it can't ever get ahead, then certain skin conditions start to happen. I know that there's eczema that'll pop up on my daughter's head if her immune system starts to weaken in some cases. If she eats too much dairy, dairy is an inflammatory. It fires it right up. And so when you look at a couple of these pieces that are out there, that is just an indicator for me going, oh, okay, I need to start cooking more vegetables in her diet, and I need to do things and make sure that we're staying off of grains so that glyphosate doesn't populate. And you look at some of the things that have the highest levels of glyphosate. Oats is being one of them. Another one is lentils, garbanzo beans. I mean, things that we don't even think about, but read the back, go to a non-grain based diet and read the back of the bag.
So exactly. Your typical grains, wheat, corn, soy, those are all super high in glyphosate. And you gotta, but then like you said, you go to the grain-free diets, it's gotta be organic, but organic kibble is not the answer either, right? But we have to remember that if it kills stuff on the outside, it kills bugs and growing things on the outside, it's going to kill bugs and growing things on the inside. We need as many of those good bugs as we can get.
Absolutely. So I'm a pet parent. I have a dog that has hot spots. I'm frustrated. I can't ever get through them. What do you think my first step should be?
I would change food. I mean, the first step would be changing food. As far as I'm concerned, going to a raw diet. After that, you can put in probiotics, you can put in digestive enzymes, you can start to look at, do you use glyphosate? Do you have toxins that are in your house, in your environment, your yard that you use with, is it cleaning stuff? It could be stuff that they're smelling that's affecting their body. It can be, if you are feeding them raw, maybe they're getting too many vegetables that's not good for them. Maybe it's the glyphosate that's in the meat that ate the grain, I mean, so I think you gotta be, fairly, what's the word I'm looking at? Doesn't matter. I can't think of it, but you got to, think through the process and think about all the things that are around you. Methodical. There's my word, methodical about it. And then, make the changes as you can. And sometimes I'm going to throw it out there. Sometimes if things are bad enough, you might need some pharmaceuticals for a short period of time as you're trying to move through it. Because we certainly don't want your dog to be miserable.
Right.
And if that's the case, then maybe as you're working through the process,
Hmm.
you build their immune system, you change their food, you eliminate the symptoms with the drugs for a short period of time, and then get them off the drugs. And hopefully you're kind of, you got that balancing act, and you're starting to clear up the hot spots, alleviate the root cause that's creating the symptom in the first place.
Hmm. Yeah. And then now from a treatment perspective, what would you put on the actual hotspot itself?
Iodine is the first thing. There are a couple of things.
Okay.
I have some notes here I was gonna say. So iodine, oh yeah, colloidal silver was one that I was missing. So
Yep.
when you do the iodine, so clean it. You got to clean it, clip the fur, do the iodine because it's a really good and povidone iodine is organic. So that's a really good way of cleaning. And then the colloidal silver, you can put that on top. You can do aloe, manuka honey is a really great one as well. But that's where then, and chamomile, but any kind of vinegar, tea tree oil, those kinds of things can be really painful. So stay away from those.
So would you use
Colloidal
when
silver.
you talked about honey, I'm a big fan of Manuka honey for wounds. So,
Yeah, it's amazing.
and your dog can eat it. So it's honey. They're gonna lick it.
Yeah.
And so as long as you can keep that on there, and I know
Mhm.
like if I put it on Leo, it'd have been like, oh, game over. I can eat my leg now. So you seasoned it. And so with those kind of things, yeah, I mean, it's just going to be one of those things that you are going to treat the source or the actual symptom of the problem. And
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
creating comfort, colloidal silver, iodine, CBD to soothe it
Yep.
if that is something you want to do.
Mhm.
Manuka honey kind of cleans up the wound a little bit because it's an antibacterial agent in there. And once you start to get ahead of that, while you're getting ahead of it, is then address where the root cause may come from and approach their immune system, approach the gut microbiota, approach what you're feeding them so you're
Mhm.
not making it harder for them to battle those, a condition like a hotspot. If it would arise, they've already got their body is set up to protect against that moment from happening
Right.
so it doesn't pop up again. And so, really, with it, we're talking about they're gonna come in contact with chemicals in the yard, they're gonna come in contact. Some of the stuff you can't keep from happening, which because they're a dog, it's like kids. It's like you can't keep young kids away from some things. Like right now, during while we all wear masks, you can't keep a 2-year-old from touching their face. If
Mhm.
they're gonna do it, you
Yeah.
can't keep a dog from rolling around in the grass.
Right.
But at some point, we can start to help, and we do have the choice of what we put inside their bodies. And so that we're going to start healing them from the inside to out,
Yeah.
to getting them into that spot and into that moment.
Yeah.
So really
Absolutely.
setting up. So then when you start to establish a good gut microbiome, what is a good first step that you like to do to help with the gut microbiota?
Well, I think the first thing is going to be, I mean, I don't mean to be repetitive, but it's true. It's the first thing to do to help their microbiota is going to be getting them off the high carb kibble. Because it's not what they're meant to eat. It's totally against or opposite what they're meant to eat.
Yep.
But you can do things like sauerkraut. You want to watch the ingredients that are in these foods, but I give my dog sauerkraut periodically. You can give
Yeah.
just straight probiotic supplements if you want to. Now, different probiotics do different things for people and for dogs. So it can, so there's something to be aware of. But
Mhm.
giving them things you can do the raw goat milk that's fermented on the
Mhm.
counter, which smells really terrible, but they love it. So you
Yes.
can, and that's food, right?
Mhm.
So, doing the food, doing raw food and real raw food, and then supplementing with the fermented foods to help with all of the different kinds of bacteria that maybe aren't in capsules
Yep.
is really a great thing. And so you
Mhm.
can do that. Maybe they're not breaking down their food well. So if they need digestive enzymes, give them digestive enzymes, which is going to help build their microbiome. the fiber from the small amount of vegetables that they get also helps to feed their prebiotics, helps to feed their microbiome. So, they are different than we are, but they still have a gut and they still have bugs in their gut and on their body. And so, just, I think those are the key things is, repopulating with good, healthy probiotics, however you can get it in there.
Mhm. That this is an unbelievable information. This is stuff that if your dog has a hot spot, correct, get them comfortable with the spot that they're at.
Mhm.
Iodine, colloidal silver, CBD. What was the other thing we mentioned?
There's aloe, chamomile,
Yeah,
manuka honey.
Manuka honey. There we go. Thank you. And so really you're talking about treating that total spot in itself. Then while you're doing that, make sure you're adjusting the diet.
Yeah.
I love fermented fruits and vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff is, case in point, it's just incredible for doing stuff like that. Fermented goat milk, when you're doing that, allow the good bacteria to grow in there. And then you're switching their diet to a raw-based diet on what they were meant to eat and what their bodies digest. And this starts to build up their immune system to keep a hot spot from happening in the future.
Yeah. Immune system is meant to control. And if it's weak, it won't. If it's not, it will. So you got to know that these things are symptoms.
Yep. Amen. Well, Nikki, this has been awesome. I mean, I hope everybody kind of walks away from this and they have a little bit more information that they can help their dogs out a little bit farther.
Yeah.
So what is the best way for someone to get a hold of you, Nikki?
Everything is Taste Life Nutrition, the website, the social media. So I've got the Taste Life Nutrition radio show. I do have, of course, I keep saying this, but we've got our, Real Raw Health, which is not Taste Life Nutrition. And then I've got Functional Friday, which is tomorrow. Functional Friday is with my health coach, and we talk all things functional nutrition. And so that's tomorrow at 11 my time.
How much does that cost to become a part of that?
Oh, $0.
So you're telling me that I can have a conversation with you and your who's all on the show?
She's a functional health coach. She's my health coach. She works with my clients. When I'm working with my clients, we do similar but separate things with the clients. So when I work with people, they have a team. So they've got me and they've got Gabrielle, and then all of the clinicians that I consult with on the background. So yeah, she's amazing. She's super smart. I learned from her. She's really great. So
Functional Fridays. How do I sign up? It's 11 o'clock Mountain Daylight Time.
Yeah, it's every first Friday. So 11 Mountain Standard Time. And it's just every Friday on Facebook Live. So I have it on my page, my Taste Life Nutrition page, and she has it on her Gabrielle Grandel page. And we just do this. We do this Zoom split. Yeah. And it's good.
And then you answer questions for everybody that's on there, and you have discussions about.
We have discussions. We have all discussions, all kinds of stuff. So it's been gut and SIBO and all kinds of functional nutrition topics. Awesome. But because it's Zoom like this, we can't answer questions unless it's posted, and we can answer questions after the talk. I'm hoping that we can change that at some point. We should be able to post, to do the Facebook Live like this and see questions. That would be nice.
What's great about it is get to know Nikki, get to know the individuals that Nikki surrounds herself around. She surrounds herself around very smart people, and Nikki is brilliant in her own right. And so when you look at spending a time with a team like this, why wouldn't you attend Functional Fridays at 11 o'clock Mountain Time? It's awesome. And really, you can go to Taste Life Nutrition on Facebook and take a look at some past conversations that she's had as well. Get involved with what Nikki's doing. She's got a great class that she's put together in regards to. And what's the name of this class, Nikki?
So we've got the challenge starting next week on the 9th. So it's a no sugar challenge. And what it is, it's 7 days of no sugar. So we have a couple of days of prep and then 5 days of no sugar. And we have, we've got you in the Facebook group. We do live Q&As in the Facebook group. But what it is really it's an introduction to a 12-week course that we created. And it's me and a couple of neurologically based chiropractors who are really smart, great people. And so it's nutrition, it's cognitive health, it's movement, it's recipes, it's videos, it's assessments. It's this really robust course that I'm just really, really excited about. And so it is basically ready to go. So we've done a couple of these challenges. We're doing another one next week. And so anybody who's interested in that, it's going to be amazing. And then if they are interested in moving forward and really digging into their body and who they are, the point is to empower people to find their truth. It's not about everybody else. It's about me. It's about you, the individual. So that's our goal with this.
And slowing down and loving yourself and taking the time to give yourself this care that you so need at this time with all the elections and the COVID and everything going on. Slowing down and taking care of ourselves once again, because we are the most important thing.
Yes.
Look in the mirror. Yep. That's the most important person that you should be thinking about today. So with all of it, go to tastelifenutrition.com, go register for the free 7-day challenge and attend Nikki's functional medicine or functional discussion.
Functional Friday.
Functional Friday. Thank you. You're dealing with my excitement brain that turns off all information. So I'm excited for this, Nikki, and this is awesome. So you can always reach out to us at parsleypet.com, have your dog tested for nutrition, figure out what areas of nutrition that you can help and improve your dog live the ultimate dog life that we know that they can live. So thank you, Nikki, for being on the show.
I got to say one thing, because when you asked me a few minutes ago, what would be one of the first things that I would do? One of the first things I would do, and I should have said this earlier and I just didn't, but it would be to get my dog tested. So it's change your food, go to raw food. If that doesn't help, do the elimination. If those aren't helping, I mean, the first thing really you want to know what your dog's deficiencies or excessives, if it's toxic, are. But, if you're exhausted and you can't figure it out, get your dog tested, because that could be the key right there. They're getting into something somewhere that's creating an inflammatory response. So if you can't do it in the beginning, then do it in the end, but just do it, because that can be really, really helpful in guiding you to understanding your dog and how your dog's functioning.
Thank you very much. And as always, I enjoy every Thursday that we do this show.
Yeah, me too.
So
cool.
Thank you. And we'll see you soon. Good luck with everything going on. And I hope you stay safe.
Yep. Bye, everybody.
All right. See you guys later.